Oops, what just happened? Okay. All right. So today's gonna be mostly about kind of getting your, getting your end set up. So I'm gonna share control, and then if you could share your screen with me, I'll kind of run through that stuff real quick.
Okay.
Yep. Requesting remote control. Do you have Chrome installed?
I do not on this computer now.
Okay. Is this gonna be your main computer?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna go install Chrome then. Okay, if you can log in with your work email.
Mhm.
So one tab is just an extension that allows you to, extensions are just, give you functionality that allows you to collapse all your tabs. And, you'll probably be doing a lot of research on the internet, and, they can slow down your computer quite a bit. So that, if you press that, it'll collapse all your tabs into a list and save you memory, and you can use them later.
Okay.
This is going to be one of the tools. This is the main reason why we actually had to use Chrome. The primary website that I use in my business is called Ahrefs, and it's basically just a program that allows you to kind of see the math about why websites show up in Google the way they do. So the problem with that website is that it can really only see popular content. And you'll just see that at some point you kind of will hit a wall with it. And this is kind of how you can manually get around that. So what'll happen is when you hit the right button on your mouse, do you have a mouse?
No, I just use my keypad.
You just
But I
use your
could,
keypad?
yeah.
Okay. Do you have a mouse?
I don't, but I could easily get one.
Okay. I'd recommend getting one just because I'm sure you could figure this out with the trackpads. The way you activate this extension, you can customize here, but you know, you would hit the right button on your mouse, and then you hit the shift key because Mac forces you to pick a plus key, and it's going to draw a box, and any links that fall into that box, you copy them. So I'll show you. This is basically the main SEO skill that you should learn, the first one. There's gonna be two things, so you're gonna be playing a little bit of catch up with the social media team. It's a pretty new team. We've only had 2 meetings. And so far in the 2 meetings, what we've gone over is how to schedule social media posts through a program that's called coschedule. I'll show you that in a moment. And then in that process, you eventually are going to want to get creative with your social media posts. So you'll
Mm-hmm.
be researching the internet for additional text and images that you can use to make social media posts. And that's where Ahrefs can be very helpful. So let me get you the login for that. Oops. Two other reasons we're using Chrome is you can see there's a ton of extensions that kind of make Chrome the best choice. And then we also want to kind of separate your personal stuff from the work stuff because Google remembers everything that you've done. So depending on what your personal search history is, that can get kind of confused with what you'll probably be doing for the internship. We're
Yeah.
going to be mostly focused on SEO and social media and video marketing. And for example, I watch a lot of basketball, but if you kind of do it all from the same browsing profile, or the same, if you do it all from Safari, which it looks like is what you normally use, it can get that confused. And
Mm-hmm.
you start searching for best video to use for business, and it might think that you're also might pull in MBA related stuff or whatever. So if in the future, if you're ever working for a company, ever working for a client, I highly recommend making new Chrome profiles for each project that you're working on. That way you can do research for that client. And when you go to Google things, the results that you're going to get are relevant for what you're doing, rather than it getting confused with all the different, things that you're interested in.
Yeah, gotcha.
How familiar are you with WordPress again?
Not very.
Okay. So to log into the website, you go to /team. You
Mhm.
should have the login now for that. I'm gonna always share the bookmarks bar, drag that down there so you can just click on there to log in. It's got the information saved.
Awesome.
So once you're logged in, there's multiple ways to navigate through the website, but I think the easiest way is if you've logged in, you'll always have this black bar at the top. So now if you go to any page on the website that you have permission for, you'll have on the black bar, you'll have an edit page thing. So what we'll be doing in the beginning is making posts or social media posts for our blog posts. So you just should navigate to this first page. And at this point, everybody's pretty much made a post for any of these. So, but the general idea is we're trying to make posts for all the most social media posts for all the recent posts. So if you just pick any one of these, and I might go to the second page because I'm pretty sure every single one of these has been done. This is a good one because this talks about social media. You'll get that edit posts button right there on the black bar.
Mhm.
So if you hit that, and you scroll down, you'll eventually find the coschedule section. So here's where you're going to make social media posts. Now, I'd recommend to click this because this is going to show you previous posts that were made. And what we're going to try to do is try to make posts that are unique. So we're going to try to avoid using the same content that's already been posted before in the same image. You can mix up the combination of the two, but the idea here is just to get familiar with CoSchedule. And if you think about how it would reach a social media platform, you wouldn't want to see the same posts over and over and over again. It wouldn't
Right.
look very good. So we can tell that we've used this image and we've used this text. Scrolling through social media marketing platforms, there are many patterns marketers can use to supercharge their branding, et cetera, et cetera. In order for these strategies to be effective, marketers must first understand the formulas that go into creating stories designed to sell a product/service or promote a message. And then you can see that by using these storytelling in social media does not have to be complicated. So at this point, they're talking about just understanding how things work, and then the storytelling, and you can tell that they've used the featured image. So by default, what these programs are typically going to do is they're going to pull in the first image they see for a page. And this featured image that's what a featured image is. It's essentially the default image, the main image for an article. So it's going to almost always pull that in first. It always will. And you have the chance then to change that default. So in this kit, you can see it with this post, it's still using the featured image. So I'm going to actually change this right now because we're going to try to just use CoSchedule to as best as we can. And I made the mistake of going to edit the image without actually reading what the post says. For marketers, there's nothing worse than struggling with a creative blog. Yeah, this is a little bit wordy, so take that out. When it comes to social media posting, the way you write your posts is the key to engaging your audience. Okay, straight to the point. The more engagement you have on a post, the bigger the reach. The greater the reach, okay. So I will typically open up, and that's what I did there is I, clicked on view post and opened it up into another tab so I can kind of see what I'm doing, what I'm pulling content from. So I'll scroll down to wherever this text was. Okay. So it looks like whoever made this post created their own copy, which is great. So let's just see if we can find an image that goes along with the copy. So upload news, pretty straightforward, and I'm going to get to that in a second. You can kind of create your own custom images for your social media posts. This project is going to basically show you other images from the blog post that aren't the featured image. So that's a very specific image. This is a very specific image. What was the other one? Yeah, so in this case, I might want to get my own image for this. So you can go, social media is all about engagement.
And it's fine to just take any picture you see off.
Not always. The only
Okay.
reason I'm doing it this time is because it's from SlideShare.
Gotcha.
SlideShare is a website where you upload your PowerPoints to it. And basically, anytime you upload something like that, you kind of give, and it's got a logo in it, so we're still getting credit for it to a certain degree.
Mm-hmm.
The only images you really need to worry about are ones that have watermarks on them
Okay.
and ones that come from websites that are selling images. They have very specific copyrights in there that, you know, if you use an image without paying for it, you can get in trouble.
Okay.
In general, with all things copyright, someone's going to have to take you to court and prove losses in one way or another. So since we're not selling products here and we're mostly just educating people with our content, you know, that would be almost an impossible thing to prove. On top of
Mm-hmm.
that, they're going to always send you a cease and desist letter before they normally will do anything about it because the courts are expensive. And that, with the exception of websites like Shutterstock and companies that sell images for a living, you know, because then it's in their best interest to be very, very strict about these copyright laws. But in this case, it has a logo on there showing who it came from, which means that we're in a way giving credit back to the original poster. SlideShare is also a website where people kind of upload their presentations and stuff. And it's, in general, I just know for a fact that anything that gets uploaded here, they're pretty much they're not giving up their copyright, um, you know, power over their content, but they're uploading it here in an effort to get more visibility, you know, as opposed to a Shutterstock website.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. An easy way to really tell if something is copyrighted or not is you right click on it and you search Google for image. Almost immediately, if it is a copyrighted image, you're going to see, if you scroll down, shutterstock.com. gettyimages.com. You'll find it'll say almost immediately some kind of one. I'll probably find an example of that at some point.
Yeah.
But in here, I can pretty much tell that it comes .compal. I don't know which, and I just randomly picked one. So I wouldn't worry about it too much unless you see it coming from a website that sells images like Shutterstock. Yeah. So let's go down. And normally, what it's going to always try to do is put in the title of the blog post and then the URL. In most cases, I don't think the title is necessary because the article is about 7 ways to structure social media posts, but we're normally not going to be promoting 7 things at once in a social media post. We're going to be promoting one of the 7 ways, and then and that's one of the things to understand about social media. Is for any given blog post, you can make hundreds of social media posts for it. You just kind of copy and paste chunks of it. You can make custom images for those chunks of text. Then you can customize those chunks of text as well. So this entire, you saw me earlier try to search for this text. Whoever made this post clearly either found it from another website and repurposed it, but I couldn't find this chunk of text in the body of the article. So I'm gonna actually, so for the most part, let's try to, for the beginning, focus on one image at a time. Because when you have multiple images in there, you can't necessarily post it to multiple platforms. I think Twitter's changed the rules, but in the past, Facebook was the only one that allowed you to have multiple images on a post. And for right now, any post that you make, we're going to do Facebook and Twitter to start, because Instagram has to be handled in a separate way.
Okay.
So save that. And for this one, I'm just going to do the same change. Oops. And I'm just getting the URL in the same chunk, because you'll see when this gets to Facebook that if you kind of, people don't always click the read more thing.
Yeah.
So having the URL visible as close to the top is good. And in some cases, I would maybe even do this. And these are things that you'll just play around with, and you'll eventually find a way that you like doing it the most. And, the idea with all marketing is you kind of test out 20 ideas, and you'll see 2 out of the 20 perform better than the rest. And that'll eventually give you a feel for how you want to tailor the messaging and the formatting. So I forgot to change the image. So at first, you should kind of work with the content you already have. So looking at this, it doesn't look like anybody. So this has already been posted, but this talks about the 3-act story structure. The one before it was really just using general about information on the article. So we have some very specific images here that, correspond to very specific text. I'm going to make a post using one of these. So for right now, let's try to do a week or a month out so that if we make any mistakes or, we're just giving ourselves the breathing room to make changes.
Mhm.
And once we like what we have, we can always reschedule them to be, sooner. But this is a good rule of thumb in general with marketing. Schedule it out a bit, gives you time to correct mistakes and just make things better. And then we always want to be dripping content out, and you're going to see in coschedule, because there's two ways of doing this. You can do it straight from WordPress, which is what I recommend, but you can also go to coschedule.com and do this kind of stuff. Now, what coschedule.com allows you to do is see the full calendar, and you're going to see that because we have the whole social media team working on this right now, and I didn't tell them early enough to not post today and tomorrow. We've got tons of posts going out in a very short period of time, when in reality, like, what is the date today? The 14th. You can see that on Friday, we had a ridiculous amount of posts go out in
Yeah.
comparison to the other days. And we're just trying to avoid that. We're trying to spread it out evenly. And because you can see we've had big gaps. We're going to have big gaps next week if we don't fix that rescheduling. So is this the 14th? Okay, I'm going to reschedule some of these right now. Because we don't need this many. Two with Facebook, 4 with Twitter, that's fine. Okay. Or the most commonly.
When we're writing the post, do you want us to paraphrase what's in the article, or do you want us to take it directly from what the
No,
article?
I I'd get I definitely would summarize things. Social media, people have very short attention spans.
Right.
So what works in a blog post doesn't necessarily work for social media.
Okay.
And yeah, I'd like you to get as creative with the post as possible. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I don't even know if this is a commonly used structure in social media posts, but just for the purposes of kind of moving through this training,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to leave it. Put it in parentheses because really happy with this, but I just want to move on from. Click here is not really something that works very much in social media, but again, I just want to move on. And then hit the photo button, this project. We'll pull out pictures from the post. So that's the one that matches up with that text. And if you ever notice something with the writing that doesn't make sense to you, please run it by me. You know, we have the blogging team, same as the social media team, was at one point being trained. So for them, and like everything, we kind of work in stages. The first stage for the blogging team was, let's just make sure things that aren't plagiarized. So in that respect, the only thing that we cared about at a certain point was that it passed a copyscape scan.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
there's certain things that just might have gone unnoticed.
Yeah.
And the content is getting better over time as the training gets better. So you can see they pass a copyscape scan, and that means it probably would have gotten posted without too much more, you know, paying attention to it. If you find better examples, have any recommendations whatsoever, please run them by me, because I'm always open to improving everything.
Okay.
So now we'll just pick Facebook, we'll pick Twitter, we'll save it. You'll see they'll pop up right there. So at some point, you'll have exhausted the content on the page, and what you were saying earlier about paraphrasing it, rewriting it, repurposing it is a great second place to start. And then you can always just research the internet for more content.
Okay.
So if I go examples of great social media posts, that's what I was going to show you earlier. So you can take something like this and go straight to Ahrefs. There's a lot of tools in Ahrefs, but the ones that you'll be using the most of is really just Site Explorer, where you can drop any website in there and it's going to tell you things about it. Keyword Explorer, which is where I'm going to go right now. If I put in a keyword like that, it'll tell me no data for this keyword. So this is kind of the limitation of Ahrefs. It's maybe too long of a keyword phrase for it to see stuff. And you know, down there, examples of great social media posts get 0 to 10 searches a month. That's not to say, though, there isn't content out there that wouldn't rank for it. So this is where I'm going to show you how you would kind of search, how you would look at the math more manually. So if you press your shift button now and the right key on your mouse, and you can customize that since you have a mouse pad. You see that little box that's getting drawn?
Yeah.
Any links that fall in that box get copied to your clipboard. So,
Okay.
you know, just like copied. So now I can go down and select all the links from the first page of Google. So now you can go to batch analysis, which is basically the same as Site Explorer, but you can scan multiple links at once using this. So I can just paste all those links in there and hit analyze. And now it's going to tell you some numbers about things. How much traffic they get, which is really what you should be mostly paying attention to. All this other stuff adds up to how much traffic something gets. So this is why something like Ahrefs can be really helpful. A lot of people will just assume the #1 result for a certain keyword phrase gets the most traffic and is the best piece of content. Very often that's not the case. Why you show up #1 on the search engine has to do with a ton of factors. Going back to your browsing history, that's why we made a brand new Chrome profile. It's because if you spend 90% of your time looking at MBA related stuff, anything you search for is going to have anything related to MBA is going to show up higher in the search engine results for you specifically than for someone else. So
Right.
part of that is why the number one result may not get the number, get the most traffic, but more usually it's because you can show up number one for, for examples of great social media posts because you rank great for that one keyword phrase. But the number two result and the number three result may get more traffic overall because they rank for a wider group of keywords. And in that wider group of keywords, maybe there's a better keyword to be targeting. And that's partly what we're doing here. When you don't, kind of choosing a keyword that you want to search for organically is very powerful in my opinion, because of the limitations of what I was just showing you with Ahrefs. Examples of great social media posts is a good keyword phrase, whether or not it gets a lot of volume. So now I can just dig a little bit deeper into some of these and why they're ranking the way they're ranking. But out of that, group of links that I search for, you can see that coschedule, interestingly enough, is one of the top pieces of content. So if you click on that little downward arrow right there, you will be able to see all the tools that Ahrefs provides. But most of the time you're going to go to overview, which will just kind of give you the big picture stuff. And you can see in here what the UR score, the domain ranking score is, and all this other stuff. But for the most part, you're going to want to look at organic search. You can see if it's still popular. You can tell that a lot of articles, what you'll see is they peaked at some point, they've come down in popularity recently, and this happens all the time. Because what's the best piece of content today may not be the best piece of content a year from now. And pretty much with all keywords, what'll happen in the beginning is, they were, as soon as they become valuable, basically you start to get these like vampires that come out that have great SEO overall, and you're going to see this happen quite a bit. There's one guy in my industry called Neil Patel, and he does this all the time. If he sees a keyword that starts to get popularity, he'll go and write an amazing piece of content for it. And in the SEO industry, you pretty much Google anything SEO wise, Neil Patel is going to pop up on that first page of Google. He's made a living doing this. So what you want to do for the most part is just make sure you're not, using a piece of content that's out of date.
Yeah.
So you can tell this is a good piece of content. So I'm going to go now look at organic keywords. And you'll see the keywords that are bringing traffic to this article. So the number one keyword is social media post ideas. That gets 700 searches a month and brings 171 people to the website. And this article is ranked number one for it. Social media posts, 1,000. So examples of great social media posts is just probably a little too specific. Social media post ideas is maybe a better keyword to look at. And I'm just kind of explaining how Ahrefs works a little bit and getting a little off topic. But what I was originally looking for was just more content from the internet that I could use to make social media posts. So I'm going to open up this one because it gets a lot of traffic. Close the pop-up. 52 examples. Who has time to read 52 examples? Look how long this one is. I already don't like this just because it's too long and I don't have the time right now to go through it all. So I'll go back here and just click on social media post ideas. And, again, there's a lot of math in here. You got to pick and choose what you really want to pay attention to. But right there. So social media, so that's something a kind of important concept in SEO to understand, is the difference between short tail keywords and long tail keywords. A short tail keyword, is just less words in a phrase. So social media post ideas is a 4-tail keyword. And then engaging social media post ideas is a 5-tail keyword. So engaging social media posts is a longer tail keyword than social media post ideas. And I'm going to go with that because, what I think we were trying to convey in this article was everything social media, it should be, how do you get more engagement? Because that is the primary metric that determines success in social media. So somewhere in here, I would hope that we mention engagement. Scrolling through social media. Again, I think this piece of content needs some work on it. Creating, people create stories because they're engaging. They add a human element to your content, and people love humans. So, again, I'm just right now kind of looking for content that I can use in new posts.
Yeah.
And this previous image that we looked at, was talking about social media engagement. So we'll stick with that. I'm gonna engaging social media post ideas. So up here, it's just kind of giving you the numbers for that keyword and then additional keyword ideas here. But if you scroll down to the bottom, what it's going to do is give you this SERP result, which is just, this means search engine result page, which is essentially the first page of Google. Keep in mind that this is the first page of Google on average. Going back to what I was talking to you about, how your search history can change the way search results are displayed. That's algorithm layering, which, did I talk about algorithm layering with you in the first call a little bit?
I don't think so.
Okay. I'll have to share my screen for that, but it just goes back to algorithm layering is a fancy word for personalized results. Google personalizes the results for everybody. And the 4 primary ways it does this is GPS, your physical location. If you Googled restaurants, it's going to show you restaurants nearby. The second one is using social media. That one's a little bit trickier because Facebook and Google are competitors, and Facebook doesn't play nice with Google. However, that doesn't really matter because Google has tracking code on about 70% of the internet. So if someone goes from a Facebook page to a website, Google knows about that, whether Facebook likes it or not. And this is partly why Facebook tries to keep you within the Facebook bubble. That's where it can collect its own data that Google isn't privy to, and where it can get a competitive edge. And that's part of the reason why Facebook is the way it is because it only has tracking code on about 30% of the internet. It does everything it possibly can to get a leg up on Google. And it's always trying to play catch up. And that's why it's gotten in trouble also over time, is because they are much more likely to employ dirty tactics or, things that might get them in trouble. The Cambridge Analytica, how they sold off people's information to be used for political ads.
Yeah.
This is all because Facebook is doing everything they can really to get your data and to keep it from other people. So I got a little bit off topic there, but do you kind of understand how Ahrefs works a little bit, and how it can just give you a little bit of a picture into why things are the way they are when you search for things?
Yeah.
And then, so there's 2 things I'd like you to take away from today. Number 1, just get familiar with coschedule. Create as many posts as you can here. When you've created a post, when you're done creating posts for an article, go ahead and share the link with me. So I'm going to refresh this. But I don't know why this is showing up. This is what the link will look like. This is basically and you can share either the front end. This is the front end link. This is the link that is visible to the public. You can share this with me in Skype, or you can share the back end link, the back side of the website. So just
Where
when you're
I'm editing from?
Yeah,
Okay.
either one of these, I'll know which page you're working on. This is mainly just for you to let me know which page you're working on, so I can go in, check out the posts, and make any recommendations that I can to you.
Okay. And you want that on Skype?
Yeah, go ahead and shoot these to me on Skype.
Okay.
So that's basically. I'm gonna send to you two more things right now, which is just the recordings of our previous social media team meetings.
Okay.
But I'm not even sure you really need to watch those because for the most part, we've just kind of been doing what I've shown you today. We've been making co-schedule posts and then using Ahrefs to research the internet a little bit.
Okay.
But let me put these on here if for at any point moment you want to go back and revisit this stuff. So I'll send it to you on Skype right now. And I forgot to ask you that. So we've been doing our social media team meetings on Tuesday at 10 a.m. What time zone are you in?
Pacific.
Pacific?
Mhm.
Does that time work for you?
Yeah. Usually I have a call with my school advisor around that time, but that's totally changeable. So yeah, that works for me.
Okay, great. I'm gonna get you added to the meeting.
And that's every week.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing it every week until we don't need to. At a certain point, we're gonna hit a place where I'll probably be doing the training more one-on-one because social media, there's 5 different platforms that we can work on. We're going to be focused on Facebook and Instagram, until we've figured that out.
Mm-hmm.
Then eventually, each platform has its own unique strategies. Now, my favorite platform is Pinterest because of mostly SEO reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be probably doing after Facebook and Instagram, we'll be doing a little bit of Pinterest, but we have YouTube, we have Twitter, we have LinkedIn. There's a lot of directions that we can go. And we're eventually going to, once we've trained you guys on the platforms and we've got a strategy in place for each one of them, we'll kind of divide and conquer. And that's when the one-on-one training will probably happen. But it'll be weekly meetings probably for the next month or two, and then turn into bi-weekly meetings, and then eventually one-on-one meetings.
Okay.
Yeah, do you want notifications, or you can choose
Sure.
it? Okay.
Doesn't hurt.
Okay. And if you ever want the recordings for the one-on-one meetings, let me know. Like I can easily send you the recording for today's one-on-one meeting, and I think maybe that'll be more useful for you than the team trainings.
Okay. Yeah,
But
I would love it if you could send me this
okay,
one
I'll
for that.
send you this one. Because we always, we're basically just go through different examples on how to do the same stuff.
Yeah.
So now the social media team is relatively new. We've only had 2 meetings. Next week will be the 3rd. The blogging team has been around since February. So I'm going to be sharing that one with you as well. And that playlist is just full of more Ahrefs stuff mostly, and
Okay.
less coschedule stuff. We've gone over coschedule with the blogging team as well, but it's not going to be their full-time task. It was really, and that's actually something that we're trying to get off their plate now.
Mhm.
So the ones you should focus on, if you feel like it, is the ones with timestamps, because the timestamp ones will have a table of contents that allow you to more easily navigate the videos. So I'll just show you. In here it'll show you from 3 minutes and 40 seconds to 4 minutes and 12 seconds. We go over how to add internal links using Site. And if you ever have questions, please feel free to drop comments on these videos. These videos are all unlisted. They're mainly just for, team members to learn. So, oops. If you have a question and you want to show a certain part of the video, it's very easy to add timestamps. If you're at this part of the video and you have a question, 28 minutes and 20 seconds, you can just go down to YouTube. And like I showed you in that example, I have a question. How does this do XYZ, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. You can also copy it. If you right click and copy, you can copy the video URL at current time and send me a Skype message.
Okay. Do you prefer one way over the other, or?
It really, I'm not always available on Skype.
Okay.
So it really just matters on your personal preference. I should see them either way. If you're on YouTube, I wouldn't mind leaving the comments there, because that's kind of how we got this part done, is people would leave comments on here and then I'd copy the comments and put them into the description.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
either way works really, just I wanted to make you aware of how to do it either way.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right, well, I'll just leave it at that. So do you kind of understand how CoSchedule works, and you think you can, do you have any questions regarding that?
No, I think I'm good. Was there like a specific number of posts you wanted me to make?
So the internship's supposed to be 10 hours a week. Now, I don't expect you guys to max it out every week, but the main thing that I'm looking for is just, if you have problems, to reach out to me as soon as possible, because the reason why we've had we haven't really gotten very much farther in these meetings is because that's what happened. People had questions week 1 and they didn't tell me about it. So we got to week 2 and I wanted to start training on new things, and I basically had to reteach them coschedule and Ahrefs again.
Yeah.
So if something's not working, reach out immediately. That's the main thing.
Okay.
And then by next week's training session, I expect you to at least have a pretty good handle on how to, if it's not clear what I want you to do, reach out. And then, by next week, I want to train you on something new. So I'd like for you to have a handle on posting to CoSchedule and just finding content on the internet. And for the most part, when it comes to Ahrefs is something I'm going to have to teach everybody over time. It's very complicated. There's a lot you can do with it.
Yeah,
So
it
the
looks
one
fancy.
thing I would recommend learning how to do is using link clump, which is, so I'd probably get a mouse, you
Yeah.
know, shift, dragging a box. Now, keep in mind, doing it in the search engine is really just one way you can use it. Another way that I use it all the time is once I find a piece of content that I really like, I'm just going to pick one here. And if this article had a ton of internal links on there, or just a ton of links, same thing, I can hit shift, start to drag a box, and go through the entire page and copy all the links. So there's one link, and if this says what, 32 ideas, in this case, I don't have to look at 32 links. I can use Ahrefs to tell me which of the links gets the most traffic
Mm.
and kind of reduce the amount of research that I have to do. And that's the main thing I want people to kind of understand, and is why Ahrefs is useful. You can do all this organically, right? You can open up 100 different links and read 100 different articles, but it's not necessary, and
Yeah.
your time is valuable. So using a program like Ahrefs can tell you, well, out of the 100 links on this page, these are the 3 that get the most traffic. I'm on number 6 out of 32. So yeah. Yep. So just get a handle on coschedule. If you run into any issues at all, if you have any questions, please let me know, and we'll go from there. Next week, what we'll be really learning how to do is just create more types of posts. So we'll be doing them manually on Facebook. We'll be playing around with video a little bit, maybe. It just depends on how far the team has kind of gotten.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, let me know if there's anything you want to learn. Because everybody's going to be learning at a different pace. So if you're
Mhm.
really interested in video, if you're really interested in a certain social media platform, let me know these kinds of things, because I can then kind of tailor the training, and we can even do more one-to-ones if it makes sense.
Okay, sounds great.
All right, I'll let you go. It is already 3 o'clock. So you have a good weekend, and I'll talk with you again on Tuesday, if not sooner.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.